picture behind me is probably what your view of the sharks of the world today is, and I'm here to show you mine. When I was born, I was almost immediately taken into the ocean by my parents, and I took to it like a fish. I could almost swim before I could stand, but the waters in Cape Town are pretty icy, so I got cold a number of times. And from then on, I went on varieties of journeys across mountains and oceans to explore what was for me the unknown. I have a very special relationship with my parents, and so they encouraged me and took me to these amazing places. I started out playing in the shallow rock pools, but when I was a little bit older, my dad taught me to dive under the surface of the water and showed me incredible animals and their breathtaking behaviors within the brown kelp forests that we always dive in. He also taught me which animals were truly dangerous and which were harmless. I would think that any normal person would perceive the red and orange compass jellyfish to be way more dangerous than the beautiful blue sea dragon. But that's not the case. The sea dragon can actually kill a human. What it does, it eats the blue bottles that sting you on the beach and concentrates the poison within its body to be absolutely deadly, while the jellyfish's meter-long tentacles are totally harmless to us humans. But my real passion in the ocean was with the sharks. They gave me a sort of high from being with them that no other animal could mimic. And so when I was 6 years old, I was introduced to the small sharks of the kelp forest. There are two types of small shark that live in the kelp forest. There is the dark shy shark and the puff-headed shy shark. This little guy is a dark shy shark, and he's quite small. He's only 50 centimeters long. And then I had the amazing privilege of actually seeing a shark giving birth. Some sharks give live birth, and some sharks lay eggs. About 40% of all sharks lay eggs. And I couldn't quite believe what was going on in front of my eyes. What they do is they drag the tendrils of the egg across a rough, kelpy reef, and when it catches on something, it encircles that object to try and entwine it, so it won't waft away. About 6 to 9 months later, the shark wiggles free into the vast ocean where it will live the rest of its life. This is what it looks like when it is backlit by the sun. Seeing this for me was like looking through Alice's looking glass into the vast world where the shark dwelled inside. And then I encountered the slightly bigger striped cat sharks, who have beautiful dark gray stripes running down their bodies. And what's interesting is that no two cat sharks have the same pattern. It's like an identity or fingerprint. I swam beside these sharks, and I felt as if they were almost letting me into their space, because they didn't swim away or confront me as I thought they would. So on one beautiful day when I was swimming in the shallows, two of these muscly sharks swam up to me, and so I lay completely still underwater, and they swam into my arms. I was probably the happiest person on the earth for the 5 minutes that they stayed there, because I hadn't ungracefully sought them out and grabbed them by their tails. They had come to me of their own free will, and it is virtually impossible for anyone in the world to grab two of these sharks, let alone one. The day after, I came to a realization. See, while my dad told me that sharks weren't dangerous, he didn't exactly tell me from losing a few limbs from making them angry. So I learned by myself when to be a little bit careful around them. I began to care for sharks even more than ever, because if you think of it, if you were to put every species in the world into a classroom to study something, and humans were the teacher, the sharks would be the dodgy or creepy people in the grade. For me, killing a shark is like killing one of your best friends that you may have had for most of your life. And besides that, we won't benefit at all from what we are doing to them right now, like paying huge trawlers to go out and scour the ocean beds, killing all their bycatch just to get a few fish at the end of the day, hiring shark fin hunters, creating plastic pollution, and much more. I'm not accusing any of the beautiful audience directly, but you get my point. But because if you think of it, sharks are at the top of the food chain. They eat the seals and dolphins, who eat the fish, who eat the bacteria that actually feeds the plants, which enables it to produce the oxygen that we breathe in. What I recently discovered is that 60% of the whole world's oxygen comes from the ocean. That means if we kill the sharks, the whole oceanic ecosystem will be knocked out of its cycle. And if sharks are wiped out, the best life that anyone will live is with a gas mask permanently stuck on their face. And then I wondered, what keeps the sharks in check? And I thought it was pretty obvious that the bigger ones eat the smaller ones. But I learned that they keep themselves in check. When any one of them is injured in any way, they act as cannibals and eat their own kind, which sounds pretty grim, but is a good system. One of the biggest privileges I've ever had in my life is diving with the 3-meter 7-gill cow sharks. They are very gentle, lumberous creatures, but if you do something to threaten them, they can attack you pretty viciously. There have been 6 recorded attacks by these sharks, but none of them were fatal. And all of them were provoked, because if you can think of it in a way that you are the shark, and there's this irritating little critter of a human nagging you and annoying you, of course you'd want to do something about it. So when I was 12 years old, I had probably the most exciting and exhilarating experience of my life. I had formed a relationship with these sharks to such an extent as I was almost playing with them, and they indicated that they wanted physical contact. So now I would like to show you the best 45 seconds of my life so far. I felt as if that was my initiation to being who I am today, similar to the ceremonies they perform in some African tribes to initiate the boys into manhood. As the custodians of our planet, we are responsible for looking after it. One of the main creatures that keep it running are the sharks. Therefore, we must protect them and stop the terrorists of the ocean from destroying our planet. Ultimately, the oceans keep us alive. We must save the sharks, and what better a motive to do it than have the outcome of our own survival in our hands? But we should just be able to do it for its everlasting beauty. This small peninsula is where I was born, where I will stay, and where I will strive and fight for the survival of the creatures within. Thank you.